All right, is everybody ready?
Woohoo!
Are we ready?
Ready!
I don't know if we're ready or not.
We're ready.
Tomorrow says we need to get ready. You all are like too calm, too cool, too quiet, too collected. All right, now we know what that means, right? Everybody, come on, rise to your feet. This means you were born a champion. Champions learn how to move their body. Repeat after me. Say, I'm a champion. I was born a champion. Woohoo! All right. Good. All right. Thank you for playing along. Welcome, everyone. I see a lot of guests here. I want to welcome all the guests. It's nice to have you tonight. Thank you for coming and joining our party. Tonight we have our cancer prevention workshop, right? Cancer prevention master class. And raise your hand if you've been to a workshop before in our office. Good. Raise your hand if you've been to 3 or more workshops. Keep your hands up if you've been to 5 or more workshops. 10 or more? 20 or more? 30 or more? 30 or more? Yeah, it seems like it, right? 40, 50? Yeah, we have a few more here and there. Wow. All right. Good. So what you're going to learn is like it's like a Pringles potato chip. Once you have one, it's you got to keep coming back for more. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You're not going to get it all tonight. You'll get a lot. So if this is your first time, welcome. And you're going to see how this works. We have a saying here, when you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. Right. So this is constant, never-ending improvement. And it starts tonight. So congratulations for being here. Tomorrow, next month, our workshop is on diabetes and blood sugar control. Especially if it's type 2 diabetes, you can learn how to reverse that. You can control any blood sugar level at any age, and it's very concise in terms of what we present, and it's predictable, and it's life-changing. So put that on your calendar as well. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. First question I'm going to ask you is, what are your last 10 years going to look like? I've asked you this question before. But this is my father, my mother, their grandchildren, which are a lot older now, but this was 10 years ago. And
Is that your oldest son to the left?
That's my oldest son to the left. Yeah, that's Dr. Josh. Dr. Josh is in the office now. But I started thinking about this, and it's like, what are your last 10 years going to look like? And whatever you're doing or not doing now is really going to determine that. And if I could go back in time, you know, I guess we were lighting Hanukkah candles there in December of 2013, nobody would have known that she wouldn't be around in 10 years. She was diagnosed with cancer in 2017, and by the time she was diagnosed, it was too late. For the previous 4 years, she had no idea. You don't know when cancer is growing or ravaging your body. And then there was a diagnosis made, and then there were decisions that are made, and then you have to play out the hand from there. You know, the best cure for cancer, you know what that is? Don't get it in the first place. Because all the stress and all the consequences which come with the decisions that have to be made to deal with it are very often worse than not doing anything at all. And so here tonight, I'm going to lay out everything for you, and you have to realize at some point there's a discussion that's going to be happening with your doctor, because we all get diagnosed with cancer, some kind of cancer, whether it's benign or malignant. Your body makes cancer. There's just no way around it. But it's knowing how to play out the card that you're dealt and making the right decisions instead of the wrong decisions. And the more you understand now, the better those decisions are going to be, and the better the outcome is going to be for you. You also need to understand that your DNA is not your fate. And that means that if you have cancer that runs in your family, breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, welcome to the club. We all have these genes that get passed down to us. But those aren't necessarily the type of genes that condemn us to having a cancer diagnosis. And so what that comes down to is something called epigenetics. And epigenetics is really the life that we lead, our lifestyle, which is going to override our genetics. Really, there's one type of cancer, which is 5 to 10% of all cancers, like the BRCA, the breast cancer. Yeah, there are some genes, not just with cancer, but with other diseases where you have a super high likelihood that you're going to get it. Lou Gehrig's disease, we all know of these, but how common is that? It's less than 5 to 10% of the time. And so when you look at familial cancers, also it's 15 to 20% of all cancers, which really comes down to environmental factors for the most part. And the same thing with these sporadic cancers, which account for 70 to 80% of cancers, which also are coming from environmental or lifestyle factors. So when you do the math on this, if you look at it, you're really looking at 85 to 95% of whether or not you get cancer or you get any disease, and even if you do, if you can conquer it or prevent it, really comes down to what? Your lifestyle. What you do or you don't do is going to be helping your body fight off sickness and disease, fight off cancer, or allow it to take over. So it's in your hands. So there are several things that have to be addressed here. And one of the things that turns on cancer-promoting genes and turns off cancer-fighting genes, influencing your DNA in that negative way, is living a pill-popping lifestyle, living your life out of a medicine chest. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for medication. We all know that. Sometimes you have to go to the hospital. Sometimes you need these things to get stability, save your life. I get that. But using that as a crutch or mistakenly believing it, that that's the solution to your blood pressure or your blood sugar or addressing something that can be fixed with a lifestyle intervention, the longer you stay on that, the more side effects you're going to have, the more you're going to weaken your immune system, and the more you're going to increase your risk of cancer. And so, pill-popping lifestyle definitely increases your risk of cancer. Cholesterol drugs, studies show, increases your risk of cancer somewhere between 83 to 143%. An aspirin a day, studies showed women taking an aspirin a day for 5 years or more increased the risk of breast cancer by 80%. There's another one, antibiotics. Studies showed an increased risk of cancer with what? Antibiotics. Because when you take antibiotics, what do antibiotics do to your immune system? Make it stronger or weaker? Weaker. So, why am I sharing this? Like, as I was preparing this and I was going through this, I was thinking of my mom. My mom had a lot of dental problems. And every time she'd go to the dentist, what would she come home taking? Painkillers, antibiotics, and was she on? She was on cholesterol medication. So like everything that I just showed you here, those were the decisions that she would make. And why was that? I mean, did she listen to her son who's a chiropractor or her other son who's a chiropractor or watch our workshops? Or no, what's more powerful than, what her son has to say is really where she came from. She comes from a family of medical doctors. And all her friends, live their life like that. So that was where the influence was, and she always kind of second-guessed everything. So those are the decisions that she made. And in the end, I know it weakened her immune system. It contributed to it. It was part of the recipe. Mammograms. My mom would go for mammograms every single year. She'd go for mammograms all the time. And she did this for decades. And it wasn't until more recently that I shared with her this study that came out of British Medical Journal, which showed that the death rates were the same, breast cancer death rates were the same in women who got mammograms and those who didn't. The largest study they ever did with women between 40 and 60 years old. When you have a mammogram, isn't that presenting with some level of radiation? Huge amounts of radiation. Chest x-rays, massive amounts of radiation. And they're, again, it's supposedly preventative, but if you're getting dose and dose and dose and dosage of high dosages of radiation, what is that doing to your risk of cancer cumulatively as the years and the decades go on? Now, why don't we ask ourselves these questions? Because this is the society that we live in. Now, when you leave the United States and you go to Great Britain and you go to other countries, there isn't as much pressure to do these things, these annual tests and these screenings. But here it is. this, yeah, I had a feeling that was going to play. Okay, so this was a clip, and I'm not going to be able to play it because of some AV issues. But this doctor was talking about the trouble that they have with overdiagnosis, because they've gotten to the point where they're so good at getting people lined up for screenings, they're finding all of these cancers and tumors and things that the body was already in the process of healing, and if they would have left it alone, it would have resolved itself. But instead of leaving it alone, there's something called overdiagnosis. What's overdiagnosis? Well, you're screening too much, and you're finding things that you're diagnosing as cancer, and then you're going for other tests and maybe subjecting the patient to other treatments which were probably unnecessary in the first place. And what does that cost? It costs a lot. It costs billions of dollars every year, not to mention the anxiety, not to mention the side effects to the patients, not to mention the stress that causes the patients, which lowers the immune system and increases the risk of cancer in the end. Is this making sense? So that's what he was talking about. The last time I did this workshop, we had a different clip showing a different medical doctor with prostate cancer talking about the same thing. Overdiagnosis because of overscreening. Where does all this screening come from? We're in the month of October. It's Think Pink month. Where did anybody ever stop and think where all this pink ever came from? Who did it come from? A front runner called Susan B. Komen, which is a supposed fundraiser, but really was created by AstraZeneca, a drug company, who has the treatment for what? Breast cancer. Wow, what a novel idea. The more we screen, the more we find, the more we could use our drugs. Follow the money trail. Follow the money trail.
Tamoxifen is extremely lethal.
Lethal, toxic.
Very toxic.
Yep. So we could spend a lot of time on this, but I think you guys get the point. I'm all for the heart that goes into fundraising and all, but where does all that money go? The billions of dollars that they raise, where does it go? It goes into drug research, promoting more drugs, which also cause cancer. So that's what I wanted to share here. And again, it gets back to the fact that cancer is not uncommon. It's really, number one, preventing it, and number two, being good enough to find the cancers that really do need to be dealt with. So colonoscopy screenings, the majority of you are probably deciding to do this or have done it in the past. My take on it, you're going to find precancerous lesions almost half the time, whether you're 80 or even less. If you go looking for it, you're going to find it, okay? And most of the time it's benign. Most of the time your body is already in the process of taking care of it, sequestering it, which means it closes it off from the rest of the body. So your body is not stupid. It's actually very smart. Did you know that? Like if you cut your skin, do you have to start a chiropractic or a college course to teach your body how to heal? No, it's innate. It's inborn, right? If you break a bone, do you have to take your body to school to learn how to mend a broken bone? No, it knows how to do this. Your body's highly intelligent. So your body knows that there are cancer cells, and through a process of autophagy, it kills off those cells, and it also gets rid of those cells. And there's a normal course of events and a process that happens if you let the body do what it was designed to do. Did you know that? So autopsies find prostate cancer in 30% of men over the age of 50, 50% by the age of 70, and 80% by the age of 90. If he lives long enough, every man can expect to develop prostate cancer and die with it and not from it. Yes?
I can attest to that. That's my business.
That is, yes. See?
30 years in the prostate cancer business.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
It's frustrating.
Overdiagnosed, just like you said.
It's frustrating, isn't it? And so one of these things for men is what? The PSA screenings. So if you haven't heard yet, it's inappropriate. Unless you're having symptoms, there is no reason to go and have like an annual prostate exam. And again, overdiagnosis. So PSA, a lot of people A lot of men especially, they'll freak out when they hear the PSA is high. The PSA is like 10 or 20 or 30, and it doesn't automatically mean that you have prostate cancer. Elevated PSAs can be caused by inflammation of the prostate, can be caused by infections, sex, riding a bicycle, like my dad was riding a bike every single day. Went to the doctor's, PSA was 35, and he tried to scare the heck out of my dad. And my dad, he called me and we had a conversation, and he's like, oh yeah, I think it's from riding the bike. He went back to the doctor, he's like, could it be from riding my bike? And the doctor said, yes. Okay, there you go. It's just a matter of thinking, using your head, and then asking the right questions. And by the way, that's why we do these workshops every month, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you have these conversations with your family physician. And if you just blindly entrust them by faith with your health, and you don't take responsibility, and you make the wrong decision, who's responsible? You can't point the finger at them. So you have to take responsibility for your health, and the more knowledge you have, the better the decisions you make. The better the decisions that you make, the better the outcome, the better your health, and the happier you're going to be. And where do you get that knowledge? Right here. Right here. You're going to get the knowledge, and it's all based on principle. It's not going to change from this year to the next. It's not going to change 5 years from now. Like the last blockbuster drug that you saw on TV, the miracle drug 5 years ago, that they just pulled off the shelf. Like they do every year after it kills how many tens or hundreds of thousands of people, and then the drug company gets a slap on the wrist for $2 billion after they just made $20 billion. Oh, big deal, right? So what I'm talking about will never change. Everything that we talk about, we teach, and you learn in these classes are based on principle. And so follow me with you as we go through this. When a person gets cancer, it's based on common sense. So if you look at the fish in the fishbowl here, what do you notice? What's wrong with that fishbowl? What do you see? Is it clean or dirty? It's dirty. It's dirty. I mean, if you leave that like that, is there any way the fish are not going to be sick? Okay, so what's the solution? What can we do to treat the sick fish? Forget about the environment, but those fish are sick. The cells inside this fish that are sick, they're damaged, they're dying. What can we do to treat those dead, damaged cells inside the fish that'll bring them back to life, that'll resurrect them? What can we possibly do to treat the sick fish to give them life? Can we poison them back to health? No? That's a stupid question, isn't it? Well, then what the heck are we doing when we treat cancers with chemotherapy and radiation? We're killing the cancer, and in the process, you're also killing the immune system of the patient. So what do? You increase the risk of cancer coming back. And that's one of the most dangerous things that I see people overlook. I'm not against somebody making the decision to take radiation or chemotherapy. Whether or not I would do it is not what we're talking about here. My mom, she did it. She did radiation, she did chemotherapy. And you know what? I said, Mom, it's your decision. I'm going to love you either way. I'm not going to love you any less. And I tried to support her, but exactly what I just shared with you is exactly what happened to her. She was already sick, and the chemotherapy made her sicker. Her legs got blisters on it. She couldn't walk. She had falls. She broke her hip. She went in for surgery. She already had chemo brain, and then because she went under anesthesia, she had more memory loss. And then she came out, and she was still in pain, and she was taking painkillers, and she took it on an empty stomach, and she woke up on Thanksgiving 2 years ago with a massive hole in her colon, in her duodenum, that if my dad didn't rush her to the hospital, she would have died right there that day. And then she came out again after she underwent surgery, and she was under anesthesia. Her immune system was decimated. And so they went back to the oncologist after it had been 2 or 3 months, and what did they want to do? Resume the chemotherapy treatment. And because her immune system was so weak, and her body was just so ravaged and so weak at that point, how did she respond to that last round of chemotherapy? She was in hospice in 2 weeks. That was it. And that's how it was. It went one step down to the next, and that's how it ended. And these were the decisions that were made. But again, I always go back. If we could have gone back 10 years in time, what would we have done different? What could she have done different to prevent herself from getting there in the first place? And even when she was on the way, was she able to see all the stress in her life accelerating that process, right? So it's the environment. If the reason why a person gets cancer is the environment, the internal ecosystem, if you treat the effect and you don't correct the cause, the sickness of the environment, what have you done? Whatever it is, it's only temporary. If you haven't corrected the cause, then it's only a matter of time till it's going to resurface. So what do you have to do? You have to correct the environment. You have to change the water. That's how you do it. So when one of my colleagues about 20 years ago, he was diagnosed in his 30s with metastatic multiple myeloma. And he went to Spain and he went to an oncologist there who did not use chemotherapy and radiation. He had a whole agenda of things that I'm going to show you what he did. And his principle, his approach was just like I'm showing you. Clean up the internal environment of the patients. And my friend, who was 37 years old at that time, stage 4, was given a death sentence. He was told that he was going to die if he didn't do the chemotherapy. He came back cancer-free. And that was almost 15 years ago, and he's still cancer-free to this day because he still addresses these principles. I was able to get my mom there. She did it, and she came back cancer-free. And she was doing really well for a little while. So what I'm going to share with you now, this stuff works as long as you don't blur the edges. As long as you're consistent with the application. Key word is what? Consistency. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the sharpest tack in the box. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a doctor. You just need to be consistent with your lifestyle program. That's it. That's all we're talking about. So for those of you who don't know this, Dr. Otto Warburg, he was 1931 cancer Nobel laureate. He won a Nobel Prize for his cancer research. And what he found out was about alkalinity in the body and acidity and this internal environment that he found that cancer cannot survive. He said, in fact, no disease can survive in an alkaline environment. And he found the thing that allows cancer to multiply and thrive is a non-oxygenated environment. Fermentation. You know what fermentation comes from? Sugar. Sugar and acidity. So here's a good analogy. If you look at the picture up on the left, what do you see? You see a pool that's green, and if you look at this pool on the right, what do you see? A pool that's blue. What makes the difference in those two environments? The pH, right? The pH. So the pH that's balanced, that pool is going to be very inviting. It's going to be healthy to swim in. The pH where it's off balance, it's a ripe environment for things to grow in, right? Algae, fungus, yeast, mold, cancer, if it was inside your body. So once you have the environment that's necessary for cancer to survive in, then it's off to the races. And what does that look like in your body? Well, you can see the cells there are very different from the healthy red blood cells on the right. Healthy red blood cells have this halo around them, which is the cell wall. And on the outside of the cell wall is a negative charge, and on the inside of the cell wall is a positive charge. The negative charge helps the cells to repel each other, so they shoot through the bloodstream with maximum velocity carrying oxygen. Right? You got that? Now, as long as you're maintaining an alkaline diet and lifestyle where you have low sugar fruits, vegetables, lots of water, especially alkaline water, these are some of the things which would help you, staying well hydrated would help you to maintain a more alkaline environment. and maintain the normal electrical charge in your blood system. But in the absence of that, where we have the standard American diet, what do we have? Lots of what?
Crap.
Sugar, crap, right?
I have a question. I know that after a smoker quits, it takes a while, but the lungs can rejuvenate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that happen with the blood?
Yes. Yeah. Everything comes back. If you're living and you have life, your body will replicate itself. It will completely heal. The body you're sitting in right now will not be the same body that you had a year ago. It's constantly making new healthy cells. But you can see the difference in this. What's different in that picture there is the acidity has destroyed the internal terrain. The acidity breaks down the integrity of the cell walls. It eats through it, the acidity, like Coca-Cola, can eat through the enamel in your teeth. Sugar can eat through the enamel in your teeth. Has no trouble eating through the cell walls. Just breaks them down. And once they kind of crumble there, you can see the positive charge inside the cell erupts and comes out, and the negative, it loses its negative charge on the outside. So all the cells start clumping together. And what happens to its ability to bring oxygen to the environment? It can't. It's all clumped together. And that's the beginning of the process called fermentation, where you have a high degree of acidity from processed foods, alcohol, sugar substitutes, just to name a few, which is typical for our standard American diet, right? Very, very acidic inside, highly inflamed. And this is the perfect breeding environment. Cancer thrives on fermentation to respire. It doesn't use oxygen like normal cells. It chooses fermentation. And the more sugar that you feed your body, the more you feed what? Cancer. That's what you're doing. You're either feeding cancer or you're starving cancer. Who's in control of that environment? Turn to your neighbor and say, I am. Type 2 diabetes and cancer, both diseases of what? Metabolism. Diabetes is a disease of metabolism, and so is cancer. You ever see a PET scan? Dark spots on a PET scan? That's the radioactive tracer that shows you the sugar, the glucose that the cancer is metabolizing. That's what they use a PET scan for. Breast, prostate, colon cancers, they all have insulin receptors on them. The tumors have insulin receptors on them. The sugar feeds the cancer. And so the PET scan is measuring that. And insulin, anything that you do to provoke an insulin response is a potent growth factor. What can provoke an insulin response besides sugar? Carbohydrates, yep, that turns into sugar, so that provokes an insulin response. Here's a good one.
Stress.
What else? Very good. Someone said stress. Yay! Okay, stress. Why? Because when you're under a lot of stress, the hormone cortisol goes up. And when cortisol goes up, it also takes the hormone insulin up with it. Mm-hmm. So how important is it to control your stress?
I'm not gonna, sorry, I keep asking questions. What about those new, supposedly, drugs for the diabetic, like Ozempic and all that other stuff, which I think is absolutely horrible?
Doesn't correct the cause of the problem. They're just drugs.
I know, but could
yeah.
that be an additional cause to...
Yeah, they're all going to have side effects. It's all going to be part of the recipe for again, not creating health. You can't take those things and create health. That's what we're talking about. How do you create health? By controlling this, by not feeding the growth centers, by not feeding the cancer. So how do you starve the cancer so it cannot thrive? What do you have to start reducing? The what? The sugar. So, and again, God rest her soul, this was the last video that I have of my mom at my birthday and singing happy birthday was with a big ice cream sundae there. And it was right there in front of her. It was while she was doing the chemo. And she was just enjoying herself, and I just said to myself while I was watching her, I'm like, never gonna change her, just let her enjoy herself. And that's it. You can't change people. You can't. You have to give them the information, let them make decisions, And that's it. Everybody's entitled to live their life, right? But I'll tell you what, it's poison. It's poison. There's not a, you know, we look at alcohol, and I can tell you alcohol suppresses your immune system. It just does. And I don't care about the studies that say, you know, a glass of red wine every day is healthy for your heart and this or that. No, I don't buy into that. I do not buy into that. Everything in moderation. You do something like that every day, you are weakening your immune system. But you see what's on there. The most important thing I can tell you is read the labels. Read the labels, because if you go to Publix or when you do your grocery shopping, you start reading these labels, all you're going to see in there are most of these labels are sugar, corn sugar, maltodextrin, stuff that you can't pronounce that's made in the laboratory. And, you know, it's acidic also. So keep that in mind and understand that, you know, this food pyramid that we learned in elementary school is the main reason why we have so many cases of diabetes and obesity today, and that's what fuels the cancer. It's the same thing. So you have to take that bottom part where the 60% carbohydrates were the crackers, cereals, breads, pasta, potatoes, and that 60% on the bottom of your diet shouldn't be that. It should be the greens and the good fats and the proteins. What do you see there? By the way, this is a bad picture after I just spoke about the bottle of wine. That should not be in the picture. But other than that, that was the best picture that I could get to illustrate like what a good, really good paleo diet would be for us. Lots of good fats. Like you see the pistachios, the almonds, the cashews. You see avocados, olive oil, cacao, which is literally like, you know, 98% sugar-free. It's like, almost like bitter chocolate. And then you have your grass-fed organic protein sources. So this is ideal. And if you're serious about your health, make yourself a mental note to start learning more about this. You know, for those of you who can start developing the habits to buy more of these foods, your refrigerator stocked with it, your pantry stocked with it, it just becomes automatic. It's not such a steep mountain that you have to climb. It becomes possible, and then it becomes habitual, and then it becomes the life that you live, and then your health is really not that hard to achieve. As Rebecca would tell you. She'll tell you. So what is a ketogenic diet? A ketogenic diet is different than the diet that I just showed you. A ketogenic diet is extreme from the standpoint that there are no carbs. And your body does need carbohydrates. It does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But in the event that a cancer diagnosis is made, and in the event that somebody is extremely against, absolutely dead set against chemo, radiation, they're going 180 degrees, the natural route. This is one of those things that needs to be considered. And this is what my friend did, and he still does today. Yes, so you don't see carbs in there because your brain and your body does not need carbohydrates to actually live. It switches to something called ketones, which is another source of fuel and energy. And guess what cancer cannot use for energy? Ketones. Yeah. So this is why we call this the cancer-killing diet. And again, I'm not recommending this for you guys right now. I'm just saying that in the big scope, you know, sometimes it has to be considered. Fasting, time-restricted eating is something that everybody can do. And it is very healthy. And it's not just a religious practice for many different religions, but this goes back to the early part of the 1900s. They saw that when people fast, it inhibits growth of tumors. They saw it do it in mice. In 1914, they did a food restriction study. They showed a 50% reduction in cancer. What fasting does is it shuts off the growth pathways to the cancer cells. And it also increases something called autophagy, where the process of your body uses to sweep out the old dead damaged cells to make room for the new healthy cells. Is that making sense? So it protects against many of the cancer risk factors, such as obesity and diabetes. If you can get your weight down, if you're overweight, if you're obese, this is in particular what helps you take your cancer risk down. It's a metabolic issue. So when we talk about time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, what are we talking about? It's 8 hours of eating and 16 hours of not eating. So basically you would be, if you were doing this, right, Audrey? If you're doing, Rebecca, you did it too. You eat from 12, you eat a late breakfast or a lunch at noon, then you'll eat again at 8 o'clock. You still do it, and you don't eat dinner, you don't eat anything after dinner, and then you don't eat again until the next day at noon. So that's 16 hours. That's an intermittent fast. An easier version of that would be a 12-hour fast, which is what I do every day. I do not eat after dinner time. I'll usually eat dinner around 6 o'clock, and then I wake up at 5 the next day. I exercise before I eat, and then when I'm done exercising, I'll usually have breakfast at 7 or 8 o'clock. So that, for me, every day is at least a 12 or a 14-hour fast. I will not put one morsel of food in my mouth after dinner. How about you? Do you honor that time for your body to rest and heal instead of giving ourselves the comfort foods? And this will go a long way for your health, not just cancer prevention, on many different levels. Keeping your weight down, keeping the pants loose. How many of you guys like when your pants are loose? Woohoo! Yeah, we'll take it. That's an easy trick for you right there. What significantly raises your risk of cancer? Obesity. 2016 study of 1,000 people showed breast and colorectal cancer accounted for 40% of all the cancers related to obesity and excess body fat. What percent? 40%. So if you're overweight, it's a significant increase for cancer. In 2003, there was a 1 million participant study. Not a small study, right? So they showed here with BMI. That was the criteria that they used. And this is what I want you to remember here. It's important to know what your BMI is. If you don't know what your BMI is and you're overweight, you're missing something important. They found in this study, there's 1 million people in the study. Those with a BMI greater than what? 30 suffered 52 to 62% more cancer deaths. Is that important? To increase your risk of cancer by 50, 60% by looking at one number and you don't know what that number is? That should be a concern. The risk of liver cancer increased by 452% and pancreatic cancer by 261 if it was over what? 30. So what am I talking about? Understanding what your body mass index is, your BMI. Now how do you know that? You do a body composition analysis. Many of you have stood on a scale that we have. It's a special electronic scale, and it puts a low-level electrical impulse through your body, and it measures your BMI, measures your fat mass, measures your metabolic age, measures your muscle mass, your hydration, it measures everything. It breaks it down. So the first thing that you can see there is your BMI. Again, if you're over 30, you're at 50 to 62% more risk of cancer. If you don't know what that is and you're overweight, it's probably a good time to find out. Body fat percentage, same thing. Your visceral fat, that will pretty much tell you if you're looking at fatty liver disease. Right then and there, it'll pretty much diagnose it. And then also your metabolic age. So what did we say is a disease of metabolism? Two things. What did we say? Cancer and diabetes. Very good. Excellent. Did everybody else get that? Okay. So a metabolic disease can only be corrected by correcting the what? Metabolism. And that's what the program that we have in our office does. People like to call it a weight loss program. Everybody wants to lose weight. But really, the weight loss is a side effect of correcting your metabolism. And when you do that, what else are you reducing your risk of? Cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. Pretty good return on investment, wouldn't you think? Yeah. So, the video I'm going to show you right now just happens to be somebody who's sitting with us right now.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Terrell. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I knew that I had to do something, and I spoke with Dr. Yachter about losing weight. I decided that I would try the program we have here at the office, and boy, am I glad that I did it. I can tell you that I feel better. It's not as hard as you think, and it made such a difference in my life. I lost 44 pounds.
Woohoo!
Did 2 cycles of the program.
44 pounds.
And I feel better than I've had since I was in my 30s. More energy, obviously the weight loss, I fit into my clothes, I'm super happy. Anybody can do this as long as you put your mind to it.
That was awesome. Thank you. Everybody give her a big round of applause. 44 pounds. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question. Just for the previous slide. It's about the metabolism, right?
Yes.
I know the general information says that after a certain age, the metabolism slows down, so on and so forth. It goes to a crawl. Right? Is it possible to
rev it up?
Activate.
Absolutely.
And normalize the person, the metabolism
Absolutely.
after?
100%. 100%. Yep. That's the key right there. You just have to have the right approach, the right strategy, the right recipe to make it start firing on all cylinders. And that's what the program does. So, you know, we give you a manual. It shows you what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat. It shows you the fat-burning supplements to take that actually kick that into gear, and then we give you a journal so that we can see if you're applying it the way you're supposed to, because the program is guaranteed. If you don't lose at least 15 pounds, we pay to put you through a second program. But it's very effective, and then it's not just how you look and feel. We also redo that body composition analysis every couple of weeks, every time you come in, so you see things going down. But if it's something that you're interested in, ask Deborah or Tamara, and they can make you an appointment for that body composition analysis, and we can follow up and see if that's something that you actually need. Another thing that has to be considered is toxins. Do toxins cause cancer? Of course, we know that, but where do they lurk? In the little things. Prescription medication, the cleaning detergents that we have, soap, our deodorants, the sodium lauryl sulfate, and things like all these things in our toothpaste, vaccines. And so now we're going to put this. We upload this video to YouTube. The second I say vaccine, a week later I get a thing that says we took your video down for medical misinformation. So enjoy it while you got it, friends, because it won't be up for long. I just said the V word. So childhood vaccines have thimerosal in them, mercury, and also flu vaccines. What else has mercury in it? Amalgam fillings, 50% metallic mercury. Yep. Lead in the water supply, lead in lipstick, lead in old paint that's in our homes. And then we have something called glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in what? Roundup, which is applied on, 70% of the glyphosate is used on corn and soy, which is in which foods that we eat today? Everything, yeah. It's ubiquitous. So the problem with glyphosate is they found it does something very interesting, very special. You know what it does? It opens up your blood-brain barrier. So that poison actually goes into your brain. And it accelerates Alzheimer's disease, the development of that. Yeah. So it's highly recommended if you have not got a handle on what you can do to boost your body's detox capabilities. Now's the time to start considering that, because a little amount of glyphosate in water supply of rats consistently showed the tumor formation. Now, that was a concentrated amount in a small laboratory animal. For humans, we have a smaller amount, and it accumulates over years. And we shouldn't think that it doesn't actually harm us in the same way, because it does. So the question you should be asking yourself is, well, what can I do to apply this, to be proactive with this? And I'll show you in just a second. So where this comes in, what these toxins do, where they affect you on a genetic level, is at the cell wall. So the cells come in, or the toxins come in, and they wreak havoc at the level of the cell wall. They can't get into the cells, the toxins, because the cell walls, they don't have receptors to allow the toxins in. Everything natural in nature, fruits, vegetables, vitamins, God created them, and so God created you and I. So inside the cells, there are receptors to let the foods by God come into the man by God, right? But if it's made in the laboratory, it doesn't. It doesn't come in. Your body says, I know not who you are. And so it just camps out, like they're right there on the surface of the cell, and it wreaks havoc, causes inflammation. And when it does that, now all the other good stuff, all the other good things, the vitamins, the antioxidants, nutrients, they can't get in the way they're supposed to. And the toxins that are inside, the byproduct of the mitochondria, the energy that's created inside the cell from the DNA, those waste products, cannot escape, cannot get out. So what that causes is damage at the DNA level. And what it does is it turns on the bad genes for cancer. It turns on the bad genes for diabetes, for obesity, for Alzheimer's disease. These toxins will do that if they're not cleaned out of your body. And you'll continue to suffer and have challenges. Even though we try and do other things, we never still get to the cause and the root cause of all of this. So one of the ways that you could find out if you're affected by this is do a meta-oxy test, which shows cellular inflammation. And we do that right here. It's a urine test. And you get a little cup of urine, and we put a little reagent in it. And depending on the shade of red that it turns, tells us how inflamed your cells are, how toxic you are. And then the other part that we do is the visual contrast sensitivity test, because toxins affect the optic nerve. And if you are toxic enough, it will impair your ability to discern fine lines. So we have a visual contrast sensitivity test for that, and a questionnaire. We put all those three together and determine whether or not you're a candidate, whether or not you really need to do a high-level detox program, which actually not just gets toxins out of the cells in your body, but your brain as well. Is that making sense? But those tests would be a good starting point to let you know if that's something that really needs to be done sooner than later. And just ask Deborah tomorrow if you need an appointment for that, and they'll give you special workshop discount pricing. So let's take a quick mental break here, because we're running out of time and you guys are running out of patience. And so we have some medals to recognize some special people, and there's only one category tonight, and that's for perfect adjustment attendance. And these are for people who have never, ever, ever missed an appointment. And why is that such a big deal? Because consistency, what do we say about consistency? Consistency is what gives you the best results. And when we see that pattern with our patients, we love it, we appreciate it, and we're very proud of you. Two people I want you to congratulate with me is Joseph Tang and Griselda Hale. Everybody give them a big round of applause. Deborah's coming around with her medal, and we have a Medal of Honor. It's an Elevation Health Medal of Honor. Oh, is she not here? No, she never made it. Oh, okay. Hold it for her. Okay. All right. She's here in spirit. Everybody come stand up for just a moment. Put your hands on your neighbor's shoulders to your right. To your right. To your right, yeah. Put your hands on their shoulders and squeeze. Squeeze. Get the stress out. Get all that stress out. Okay. Karate chop. Karate chop. All right. We're just trying to wake each other up here. Good job. Turn around. Love your other neighbor. Give him some love. Wake him up. Don't let him fall asleep. All right. Karate chop. Good job. All right, give yourself a round of applause. All right, let's finish strong here. We got another few minutes. Okay. So, how many of you guys exercise more than once annually? Okay. Everybody's hands should be up. How many of you guys exercise a few times a week? Good. How many of you guys exercise 6 to 7 days a week? Good, good, good for you, good for you. Now, you have a special place in my heart if you exercise every day, and let me tell you why. Because everything that I read when it comes to anti-aging, anti-cancer, anti-dementia, anti-diabetes, anti-heart disease, comes down to your best bang for the buck is what? Exercise, exercise, exercise. So if you can get consistent with that, it will give you a huge upswing in terms of stability with your heart, with your blood sugar, and your immune system. And really, because it's free, there's no excuses. You know, we can do a brisk walk on the sidewalk. Nobody's going to stop us from that. We pay our taxes, right? So we can get out every day and shake our tail feather because you know, it's one of those things that a little thing that makes a huge difference. I want to just trail off of that detox conversation that we just had a moment ago, the Complete Clean is in your handout, talking about, you know, an all-in-one, our favorite thing to do every day, at least the Yachter family. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have the Complete Clean shake. I use it as a protein source after my workout. It has 26 grams of protein, but it's clean protein. It's made from rice and pea protein. It has a very gentle daily detox. It's not something that'll actually pull metals out of your body or your brain, but it gives phase 2 liver detox support, which is really, really important, a low level on a daily basis to help your body support that. It also has vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. It's basically a multivitamin spectrum. So this is one easy way that you can save time and save money and kill a whole bunch of birds with one stone, literally like as a cornerstone. A lot of patients take 1 scoop in the morning, 1 scoop in the afternoon. I just do 2 scoops in the morning. You can mix it with water, you can mix it with almond milk, you can make a smoothie out of it with vegetables if you want. There's vanilla, there's chocolate, but what's that? You can make pancakes. I haven't done that yet, but now that you mention it, probably not a bad idea. But I'll tell you what, bang for the buck. I don't think there's anything better that you could use to just keep as a foundational component for your health on a daily basis. It's hugely important. And again, for the purposes of discussion tonight, it's got the antioxidants in it, quercetin, and so many other antioxidants, turmeric and acetylcysteine, which is the precursor for glutathione, which is the major antioxidant in your body, for detoxing, watercress. The question is, what does not this have? It has everything. Curcumin has the most evidence-based literature backing it as a cancer support among many different nutrients. Did you know that? Lots of literature behind curcumin. Now, I know a lot of people who use turmeric to cook and they use it and they put it in all their stuff and like, oh yeah, I got that. Not so fast. No. We're talking about, you know, highly concentrated dosages. That's what they did the studies with. So when you take the capsules, the curcumin capsules, like when we see elevated, especially elevated levels of inflammation, we have you taking at least a couple of capsules of that a day. Sometimes we have you take 2 capsules in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. So shaking a little bit of that turmeric may help with your taste buds, but it's not going to be a therapeutic dosage. So, so just keep that in mind. This is really, really important, especially if you have inflammation. Vitamin D, everybody should know right now, your vitamin D level should be at or near 70. We always try to get it up there. We're always doing vitamin D tests in the office with a finger prick blood test. And if you're not at or near 70, you need to take a good amount. You need to take probably 10,000 international units, at least until it's rechecked. And then sometimes you have to back off from there. So it's never on cruise control. We always retest to make sure. But you know, you have to get that up to 70. Shows one of the best ways to prevent major cancers. 50%, up to 50% of all these cancers by a good, strong vitamin D level. And then CoQ10, what does that do? We know that's important if you're on cholesterol medication, but it's really for making all the, in every cell, healthy cells, as far as, you know, what you need to support your body making new healthy cells, replicating healthy cells instead of cancer cells. So the CoQ10 is a necessary molecule as part of that process. And then the probiotics. Did you know that 70% of your immune system is in your what? In your gut, yeah. So it's vital that you have these probiotics. And you know, there's other things out there like kimchi and sauerkraut and you know, kefir, and those are all good things. But the important thing is to get a variety to make sure that your gut gets what it needs. Now, I take one of these every day. Doesn't matter if I'm home, if I travel, I will not miss a day with it. And as far as whether or not there's constipation or loose stool, this will level the playing field with that as well. So very, very important, especially when it comes to your immune system. So please don't overlook that. 15% off all of the cancer killer resources that I just talked about tonight only. And it's based on the availability that we have there. So please see them before you leave. All right, so let's talk about stress and get into how stress causes cancer. It's widely known, and I have seen this again, people just cannot control their stress. And I get it. I've been there. You know, there was years ago, some of you were here when I was flying all over the country, and I was running different clinics in different states, and I had 7 different businesses that I was managing, and I was on calls every day, and I was climbing this ladder to get to Mount Everest. So I just wanted to achieve my peak potential in life and business. And you know what I started feeling? Yeah, you know, I mean, what good is it if I'm almost at the top and then I fall off the ladder because I have a heart attack or I get diagnosed with cancer? And so I started my descent back down. And I said, this ladder is not for me. I like where I'm at right now. I can be happy. I can be content. And the Lord has given me everything I need. I enter his gates in thanksgiving. I enter his courts with praise. And I do that every day, and I'm thankful for what I have. I'm thankful for the blessings that he has faithfully given me and continues to hold in promise. And there is so much that we could go on and on and on and on and on and about if we focus on it. If we focus on it, like Peter was focusing on Jesus when he stepped out of the boat on the water. But as soon as he took his focus off that, what happened? He went down. He went down. And that's what happens when we're walking around in life and we're not focusing on the Lord. We're focusing on all of our stress, and that's what takes our immune system down. And that's what takes us 6 feet under, down. Yeah. That's how it works. So the way it works scientifically in your body, though, is all that stress ramps something up in your nervous system called the fight or flight response. You have these 2 parts of your nervous system. You have the fight or flight part, which raises your respiration, your heart rate. It's your adrenaline all the time. So you're always in this fight or flight mode. You're always stressed out, and your autonomic nervous system is out of balance. And what that does is it's caused by chronic stress that you never give yourself a break from, you never recover from. And what that does is it drives your adrenals, it drives cortisol. And what does cortisol do? It raises insulin, feeds cancer. What does it do to your immune system? Weakens it. And then you have also systemic inflammation. So this is from chronic stress. Do you see how that causes cancer, or can cause cancer to come back even after a person has treatment for cancer? So there's something called the vagus nerve, which actually controls both parts of that autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight and the rest and recovery. The vagus nerve is responsible for keeping those 2 parts of the autonomic nervous system in balance so that you can rest and recover also. And the tone of that vagus nerve that runs off your neck and goes down and touches your gut, your heart, your lungs, every part of your body, the tone of that nerve is determined by one level of your spine. It's in your neck. Particularly something called the atlas. Everybody say atlas. Atlas. So the vagus nerve runs right in front of that C1 bone. You see that circle around C1 right under the skull? That vagus nerve is coming out of the skull and going right in front of that atlas bone. And what do you suppose happens when that atlas bone twists out of alignment and it touches the vagus nerve? What does it do to the tone? It upsets it. What do you think happens when, instead of your neck being back here over your shoulders, is like this? What is it doing to the tone of the vagus nerve? It's changing it. Yeah, it's dialing it up. And what is it doing to your sympathetic nervous system? Dialing it up, adding insult to injury. So what's one of the most important things that you could have checked in your nervous system to promote proper vagal tone and balance of your autonomic nervous system to help you recover and get out of that fight or flight is have your atlas checked. What is an atlas subluxation? It's, what do you see down here? The misalignment of that top vertebrae negatively affecting vagal tone. And what does that cause? The most common symptoms that we see from an atlas subluxation, a bone out of alignment up here, your sleep goes south. You can't get good sleep. Your moods are erratic. Your blood pressure is high. Your immune function is low. Your digestion is off. Face problems, right? Eye problems, eye pains, heart rate. Is this sounding familiar? Yeah, we see this in a lot of different diseases. rheumatoid arthritis, infertility, Alzheimer's disease. I mean, there are studies across the different medical professions that are being published right now with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, sudden death risk, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease. And you know what they're doing as a means of addressing this autonomic imbalance? They're putting vagal nerve stimulators, surgically implanting them in people's necks. Does that correct the malposition of the vertebrae? No, not correcting the cause, isn't it? No. So that's why when you are on that table, one of the most important things I could do is check your what? Atlas. What else can you do to calm the vagal tone? Singing, massage, laughter, deep breathing, exercise. And what else? Chiropractic care. Now, not just any ordinary chiropractic care. Some of you guys, YouTube watchers. Hey doc, did you see the YouTube video? No, don't want to. That's not chiropractic. That's manipulation. Any parrot can walk on somebody's back or crack their neck. Hallelujah. But that doesn't correct subluxation. Subluxation, by definition, is the choking off a vital nerve supply causing sickness and disease. And unless you have this training to identify and give a specific correction to restore the normal nerve supply and restore health in an individual, you've done nothing except crack a neck and make somebody feel good. It doesn't take a whole lot of training to do that. But it's been published in studies, in journals, showing upper neck adjustments specific to the atlas had a parasympathetic effect. What does the parasympathetic effect do? Well, I gave somebody their first adjustment today. She got up off the table after I adjusted her atlas. What'd she say? Ooh, I feel weird. I feel like I'm floating. Yeah, I said, that's because your blood pressure's coming down, right? Your respiration is coming down because you're having a parasympathetic effect. What do you think that does to somebody who's all jacked up in sympathetic overdrive? Starts to get their nervous system in what? In balance. Go home, have a really good night's sleep, you wake up a happier and a nicer person the next day. Yeah, you're a better driver. You're a better husband. You're a better wife. You're a nicer person. Imagine if every person in your family and in our community was getting a good atlas adjustment. How much safer our earth would be. That's the big idea, guys. That's the big idea. That's why I do this today, because I saw that happen with my dad. I saw that happen with my dad. My dad had migraine headaches every single day of his life, and he was nasty. He was physically and mentally abusive. All my life, that's all I knew him. All I did was hate him. Used to beg my mom to leave him. And when I was in chiropractic school, I learned how to adjust an atlas. And I came home from school, and I adjusted his atlas. And what happened? Transformation. No more headaches, off 7 different medications. Him and my mom going, their marriage blossoming again after 25 years, going on trips. He's a different man. She says to me, chiropractic gave me my husband back. I'm like, yeah, it gave me my father back. And because of that, my brother went to chiropractic school. And because of that, my son, Dr. Josh, went to chiropractic school. Life-changing on a mass scale means world-changing. One spine at a time, guys. One spine at a time. And so that's what we do. We help people get back in balance with specific upper cervical adjustments. I did this when I went to an AIDS shelter. All I did was line people up in chairs and adjust their atlas. Boop, boop, boop. Did a mission trip to Panama. 300,000 people, me and 10 other chiropractors adjusted. All we adjusted was their atlas. That's it. Miracles. Doesn't take much, but all we're doing is we're clearing out the interference from the amazing healing power that God put in your brain so it can flow freely, that life can flow freely into your body, and you can be 100% of what God created you to be. Raise your hand if you want to be 100% of what God created you to be. Doesn't everybody deserve that? That's the big idea. That's the big idea. And so if you have atlas subluxation, what does that do to your risk of cancer? Like if you're a guest here right now, if you haven't had a chiropractor, if you haven't had your atlas checked, are you wondering right now, do I have an atlas subluxation? Because if you do, and it's interfering with your vagus nerve, altering the vagal tone, your autonomic nervous system's out of balance. What does that do to your risk of cancer, or what? It increases it, whether you feel pain or not. So you need to get checked. You have to get checked. I mean, that's a study that came out in 1990. AIDS patients who are all getting upper cervical adjustments, had a 48% increase in their CD4 count, their white blood cell count. What does it do to your immune system, these adjustments? Especially in this area, it strengthens it. So being under chiropractic care actually does reduce your risk of cancer, believe it or not. What causes subluxation? Stress, chemical, mental, physical, right? All of these. So is there anybody here who doesn't have stress? We all do, right? All right. So how do we detect subluxation? How do we find whether or not this is going on in a person's spine? Whether you're not under care, whether you are under care, we don't guess, we what? We test. And one of the easiest ways is using thermography, because skin temperature is controlled by the nervous system. And so if the vertebrae are out of alignment, there's going to be dysfunction in terms of the skin temperature, asymmetry. And so we use thermography. That's NASA space technology. That's on the preliminary exam. And then we do other parts of the exam to check the motion. And if it looks like there's a problem there, then we'll take x-rays. And we're looking to see what areas of the spine are involved. Again, if it's an atlas subluxation, it can cause headaches, nervousness, insomnia. This chart comes from Gray's Anatomy, 29th edition. The nervous system controls and coordinates all organs and structures of the body. Misalignment of spinal vertebrae and discs may cause irritation in the nervous system, which could affect the structures, organs, and functions listed under the areas below. So you can find this in any medical textbook. Gray's Anatomy will show you that if a certain part of the spine is damaged, you will have health problems related specifically to that area. Lowered resistance from the middle part of the back, upper part of the neck. But you don't know.
Mr. Lawson, it's so great to have you here in the office. And I remember reading your testimonial on the radio a couple of days ago. I told you it's just an amazing testimony. Just wanted you to tell the viewers exactly of your experience. I mean, you are a cancer survivor, multiple myeloma to be exact. And you came here because you didn't want the chemotherapy, which they told you was preventative. You've already had surgery. And you have shared some remarkable results after being under care now for about 8 weeks or so. And what have you noticed in terms of the blood tests or the medical testing that has done before care and now after?
Okay, one of the main elements of the blood test is something that the doctors call IgG. I don't remember what it means, but when I came here, it was like about 4,000 and something, 4,000 plus. At that stage, I was scheduled to start chemo for the third time in about 2 weeks. But after about 2 weeks of chiropractic care, and I went and did my blood work, that 4,000 was reduced to 3,400. And I said, wow. So when the doctor called me, I said, Doc, I'm not ready yet. And so I continued the chiropractic care, and I've done another blood work since, and it dropped to 3,000. I'm doing another one in another 2 weeks. And how my body feels, I know it has gone down further. And so this has prevented me from not going back on the chemo. And it's just so exciting for me.
That's great. It's because
he had some really good results with that.
Mr. Lawson.
But at any rate, I wanted to share that with you because there are studies that show that people under long-term chiropractic care have immune systems on average about 300% stronger. Wow. Did you know that? New York University Cancer Research Center study was done. So the adjustments help to bring autonomic balance back, and the longer that you practice that, the more complementary it is to your body. So long-term, these were people 5+ years under chiropractic care. They saw their immune systems getting stronger and stronger. So those of you who've been patients in my office for that period of time, you're going to notice the same thing. And for those of you who have not yet been here for 5 years or more, the average person in our office has been here 10, 15, some 25 years. You just, as you get older, you see your health get stronger and stronger. And those around you, those people are not doing the same things. They're getting older, they're not aging as gracefully, they're taking more medications, and you're doing the opposite. Is there any more important thing to invest in than that, right? So All right, so I'm preaching to the choir for some of you guys, but for the guests who are in here, then the question is, how do you make application for what we just talked about? You start with the preliminary exam. You have a consultation, we'll do the thermal scan, we do all of the examination, and then if necessary, if we suspect subluxation, then we take x-rays, and then we put it all together, and then we do a report of findings and tell you what's going on and give you recommendations. Now, if you are a guest here, then that initial exam and x-ray and the report of findings, normally over $500 worth of service. But for special consideration for the guests tonight, it's only $97. So we have this friends and family coupon. You can get one of these on the way out if you're a guest only. If you have people or family or friends that are not here and you want to take one for them, it has a 2-week expiration date on it. Again, the most important thing is not the information that you got tonight, it's what? Making application. Yeah. This is, how many of you guys would agree you learned something life-changing tonight? Yeah. And so the most important thing is that we do something with this. Now, for those of you who need the supplements, remember 15% off, see them on the way out. If you want to get a body composition analysis, they can make that appointment for you. Also, the toxicity testing. So I want to give you thank you. The biggest thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, being such a great audience tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I love and appreciate you. God bless.